What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tearphone Orbital. Let me fix my microphone here. Tim from Tearphone Orbital again. Hi, I'm Tim. So I wanted to do a video on a commission that I finished up recently. This is for an Sp Sabers Darkness, or Kylo Ren's hilt. This is the first time that I've ever done a Kylo hilt. One came across my desk a number of months ago from a friend, and we decided to not install it, and it was sold as an empty. So this is the first one that I've done. This is also the first Sp Sabers hilt I've had in hand, and it's a phenomenal hilt. It's very beautiful. I have not personally been a fan of Kylo's hilt ever. That has changed. I really like this hilt. I love the way it feels. Maybe not the most practical hilt to use. However, there is so much room in this grip that I had plenty of room to do greebly work and everything on my chassis. I mean, that's probably why I like it so much, or a big reason why, because as an installer and a designer, having so much room in the grip for your chassis allows you to really work on greeblies, wire management, etc. So, really happy with the way the chassis came out on this one. I'm really happy with the install. So, I'm going to talk about the hilt a little bit. We will talk about the chassis a little bit, and then we will do a little demo, and then we will be on our way, right? So, let's talk about the hilt. Here she is. This is the Darkness V3, or the Kylo Ren hilt from Sp Sabers. This is blacked out, obviously, and weathered a little bit from SP. We have steel Quillian emitter pieces here. The remainder of the hilt, I believe, is aluminum, although it is hefty. This engine piece down here also might be steel, but I'm not sure, actually. So we've got our usual typical Kylo external wire work here. We do have a belt clip. Around back there is a main, and we do have an aux that is built into a soft switch here. There are two switches here, but this bottom one acts as your aux, right? So yes, super cool looking hilt. SP did ship this hilt with blade plugs, and a little bit confused. I'm going to talk about a few things about this hilt that I just was concerned about. I do have feelings. I do have feelings about this hilt. Before I get into how to use the hilt and how to disassemble it and all that good stuff, let's talk about this chassis. So here is the chassis, designed in Fusion. As I said, I had so much room in this grip. I think we got like 33 or 34 millimeters on the inner diameter. So plenty of like really detailed, big greebly work. I've got room for a kill switch. So here's the kill switch up top. Plenty of room for a 28 millimeter speaker, fully enclosed. We have a battery tray here, obviously, and this out the top is where I make the connection to the rest of the PCBs and switches in the hilt, and this just kind of marries to the top section of the hilt, right? So coming down, let's talk about how to use the saber. So around the circumference of this top section, you have 3 hex screws, okay? And those are what secure the grip to the top of the hilt, and it also secures this ring here. Before you can even take those off, however, you do need to remove this main switch. This main switch is secured in place with a magnet. So very carefully, I've been taking them out with a pair of tweezers. I highly suggest getting if you really care about scratching this button up, you can use a pair of ceramic tweezers. Mine are broken. I broke mine a while ago, and I haven't had a reason to use them anymore. So you can get a pair of ceramic tweezers, and that'll help with not scratching up that button too much. Okay. So once you remove that main button, you can unscrew these hex screws around the circumference. I believe these are 4 screws. Okay, so once you have all of that loose, then you can remove your grip. So I would hold the top of the hilt like this and slide your grip all of the way off. Okay, I do have a ring in there. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then once that's off, you can remove this top shroud here. And here's the chassis. Okay, so we've got some really, really cool greeblies. I did do a pass of buff and rub on this. I've been actually mixing buff and rub. I've been doing a pewter with a black oil paint, and I really like the gunmetal color that I've been getting with that. So I did that with a buff and rub, just painted some gold and bronze around the outside as well, and then I did a pass with some Tamiya weathering pigments to make it look like it's been oil stained and all of that good stuff. So the chassis secures to the rest of the hilt with another 3 hefty grub screws around the circumference, and there's also a main M3 grub screw here as well. The 3 screws, the 3 screws that are around this circumference, I don't have them in right now. You really don't need them. That one grub screw does a really good job at securing the chassis, but before I ship, I'll put those 3 back in. Just a simple wonder. I keep activating this thing. So that's the chassis, 28mm speaker, kill switch, battery tray. So to use it, spring side is your negative that is pointed down towards the speaker, so you want to take your negative side of your battery, rest it in the tray. It was already on, so the kill switch is here. Flip your kill switch on. Flip the hilt around front. I like having the main button facing up when I put everything back together. So this shroud, here's the hole for that main button. You want to line that up, slide the shroud all the way up. And then when you put, so there's a resonance ring in here as well. So that's just loose. Make sure that falls all the way down to the bottom of the hilt, down to the pommel. There's a notch in this as well. So you want to line that notch up with this notch that's at the top of the hilt. So I kind of take a look into these holes, make sure they're lined up. Okay. I like to tighten the screw that's closest to the aux button in first. Make sure they're nice and tight. Oops. And then do your other 2. Nice and tight. This decorative wire, so initially this wire separated at the top, so you would have to take it out of this engine section when you took the grip off. I snipped it here so that it's easier to remove the grip, and it's just easier to get the wire back in there. You just slide it into that coupling. So once you're ready to go, you put your main back in the hole. It's magnetic. It'll just stick right to that inside tactile switch, and you're ready to go. So let's come back down to this guy here. Hi. So I want to talk about this hilt a little bit, right? There's some things that I don't, they're not questionable. I just really didn't understand, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate the button mechanism. I think that is a fantastic idea. Having that top of that tactile switch magnetic, that way you can just pop that main out and get at the rest of the hilt that way. That's a great idea. Love that design element. What I don't understand is this pommel. So we've got a 28mm speaker in here. Yeah? Plenty loud. Plenty loud. There is an engine piece in here that the sound vents through. Okay, so there's a giant hole, not giant, but there's a hole in this engine piece where sound can travel through, and there are also very small kidney-shaped holes around the circumference of it. So once the engine piece is in, yeah, those kidney-shaped holes, sure, sound can vent through those. But the sound that's the main business end of that pommel is completely covered up by this red pommel cap. There is no sound venting in this thing at all. So loud. Not so loud. It might just be me being nitpicky. I mean, the hilt sounds fantastic with that cap on. There's no doubt in my mind that it sounds how it should. I just don't understand why you wouldn't add venting around this edge here, or at least even make this mesh and wide open. Wouldn't make it film accurate, but I mean, yeah. So anyway, or give an option with another red cap that's got venting or is wide open. I don't know. I didn't want to start popping holes in this thing anyway, but just something I noticed, right? Another thing I noticed that I thought was strange, right? So the blade plugs that SP ships with are aluminum. Yeah, they're aluminum. If I have PCBs in these Quillians, and I go to put this blade plug in here and forget to take it out and activate this hilt, it's going to short out the PCB. It could fry the board. SP does ship with these little black stickers to protect them from that. But why you wouldn't make blade plugs that are plastic or resin or polycarbonate, so you could have shine through at least, and make them non-conductive? I don't understand that. They look cool, but like for me, blade plugs, I want to see some shine through, because nowadays all of our PCBs have LED neopixels on them. So I designed my own in two pieces of different resin. So the core is a translucent resin, and the core is a high strength resin, and the shell is a translucent resin. And I painted them just so you at least get shine through on your display when there's no blade in it. So I think that's it. I mean, again, not complaints, just things I noticed. It's a fantastically made hilt. The machining is fantastic. The detailing is fantastic. The weathering is really nice. So yeah, not really complaints. I also did notice about these switches here. They're like a rubberized silicone. They were painted from SP, and just from the minimal amount of use that I've been doing it, this paint's rubbing off. So just something to keep in mind. It's going to happen. So let's put a blade in it. So to use the hilt, obviously I went over how to put the battery in. Oh, another thing I do want to mention. Sorry. I want to give a shout out to Powell's Power Ups for... I watched his video on his recent build for an SP Kylo. He opened up the hole for the blade retention, which was a fantastic idea. Another thing I did not understand about this hilt, there was like an M2 hex set screw here to secure a blade, which is, I mean, that's just way too small in my opinion. You're going to strip that thing, and it's just not hefty enough to hold a blade in there well, in my opinion. I mean, there's an M2 on my child hilt, and I don't even put a blade in that thing, but still, like, it's just not enough in my opinion. So I increased the size of this to an M3 hex. So the blade plug's going to be in there. You loosen your set screw, pop the blade plug out, and we'll put a blade in it. I'm going to put in a pixel stick, or a KR pixel blade, because they are super bright. So sorry, I'm not even doing this on camera. So pop your blade in. Don't jam it in there. Make sure it's resting on those PCB pins, and tighten your set screw. Nice and tight. So I don't have the Quillian blades yet. I'm actually making these. I will be. SP does ship with Quillian blade tubes. I will be installing those with NeoPixels in the next couple of days. So they'll be ready with the hilt when it gets shipped. But I did want to record a demo video. So you put your blade in, tighten the screw. There we go. Why don't we put it on a Kylo font for...
I'll show you the dark side.
And there we go. Hefty. Super hefty. So I've got a bunch of Twist activate is on. Hefty hilt. Let's play around with it some more.
I'll show you.
So there's like 3 different Kylo fonts on here. This one's got a pre on, I believe. Yeah. What else do we have on here?
Kylo Ren.
So let's take this pommel cap off, right? I just want to see. I don't know, I feel like...
Bird sister.
I just feel like the highs are... You can hear them better with that pommel cap off. Aux is fine. Yeah. So, enough of that, right? Yeah, so not huge complaints at all. Just things that I noticed. Some design elements that were a little strange to me. That pommel cap really bothers me. Again, it's not like the... I'm not saying the hilt doesn't sound good. It sounds fantastic. It would just sound a little better with some venting, proper venting, anyway. You could probably pop some holes around the circumference of those kidney holes that are already there in that engine section. You could probably open those up, but I didn't want to do any of that because you're really, really close to the threading. I didn't want to mess that up. So, yeah, just something to be aware of. Again, it doesn't ruin the hilt at all. Yeah, super chonky boy. Really, really hefty. So, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again, as I always do. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Here's another look at those blade plugs I made. Just really simple translucent with a resin core. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much to the client for sending me this build and trusting me with your hilt. If anyone has any questions about this particular build, if you need any help with anything, I'm always available. I always enjoy helping people. So if you have any criticisms or feedback, let me know. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and have a good evening. May the Force be with you always.